So where are we now, Bill?
Well, we are still in Indian Stream Cemetery in Pittsburg. And right behind us here, down over the hill a little bit, is Indian Stream. And if you go back to the road behind us here, behind the camera, turn left, make another left, you're on Route 3. And with about 45 minutes or so drive, you're going to be in Canada.
That's right.
Which is kind of sets the stage for the story of Indian Stream Republic. In New Hampshire, we definitely take live free or die seriously.
Well, what happened here, and it is interesting, I mean, in the old days, we used to come up here, go fishing, and we go, hey, let's go into Canada and buy an ice cream or something. Yeah. And in those days, you could drive over, come back, and, you know, didn't seem to care much what we were up to. But anyway, back in 1783, which was a little bit ahead of our time. Yeah, not much, but a little. After the Revolutionary War between Britain and the United States at that point, the newly formed government, the exact borders between what was the United States, what was Canada, were not exactly clear. And they did talk about the upper part of the Connecticut River, but there were so many tributaries off of that there were all kinds of disputes. So basically what was happening is that both the British and the Americans were claiming this. And what made it even more unique was not only were they claiming it, they were conscripting people to be in each of their armies. So if you lived here, you never knew if the knock on that door might be the guy from Canada who's coming down to put you in the army, British Army, or you're the guy, another knock, and they've come from the American militia and want to take you into the army that way.
I think what really ticked them off was that both Canada and the United States were taxing them.
That's
and
absolutely
you know how New
right.
Hampshire residents feel about taxation.
Yeah. So, I mean, this took a while because what did we say? 1783, after the Treaty of Paris at the end of the Revolutionary War. Basically, by 1832, the 300 inhabitants of this area, under the leadership of a man named Luther Parker, who was a justice of the peace, Richard J. Blanchard, Jeremiah Tabor, and Burley Blood, Abner Highland, and William White, the Constitution was drafted here to form the Indian Stream Republic. And here is where Jeremiah Tabor is buried. The other people that were involved with that basically are not necessarily easy to find, not necessarily in this cemetery, although I think one of them was. But there was a threat from the Coos, from New Hampshire, militia coming up here. And the British were supposed to protect them and didn't. So, you know, there was a lot of dissatisfaction. So what really ended up as sort of an incident, I guess is a good word, is that someone apparently had stolen something from a hardware store.
Yes.
And what happened is that he got captured by a sheriff who, as it turns out, was affiliated more with Canada than with the United States. And it did create actually an international incident, believe it or not. So what happened is finally at the end, apparently a bunch of Indian Stream citizens who had been drinking that night. That's hard to believe. But they freed the man who basically owed money to the hardware store. So essentially what happened is that neither the American side or the British side, this had become an international thing, really wanted to go and back up their position over a disputed hardware bill. So basically what they didn't want to go to war over it, let's put it that way.
A sensible heads
probably is, yes, they did. So basically what happened in 1836 is that the Indian Stream Republic, the people who live here in Pittsburgh back then, accepted to become part of New Hampshire.
Mm.
And
that's part of the United States.
Exactly, and the British gave up their claim.
Yes.
So we did not go to war again with Britain at that point in time over an unpaid hardware bill. So basically, the international boundary was recognized in 1842 and by the Webster-Ashburn Treaty. Ashburton Treaty, sorry about that. So here we are standing not far from where we talked before about Minnick, the Inuit.
Yeah, he's right over
buried
there.
here, is buried right over behind the Tabor grave. This is the only grave we were able to find. The other person who's buried here is in an unmarked grave. And I'm having a senior moment, can't remember his name even probably when it's on here. But as you can see, the Tabor family was obviously an influential family in this area. So essentially that's the story of Indian Stream. And here we are in this beautiful cemetery, and two very, very interesting stories not far from each other.
Exactly. And once a piece of New Hampshire was an independent nation.
That's right. Yep. So, Mr. Tabor, I guess, rest in peace as well. And glad we made the trip to come back up here.
Yes,
again.
it was well worth making the trip in better weather.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Hope you have enjoyed this.